Ugly art matters more than you think, especially since quality comes from quantity. Have you ever noticed that you need to make several pieces in your sketchbook before you create one you really like? And have you ever noticed that the one you really like was created because you'd gotten the previous ones out of your system first? I've noticed that in every single one of my creative disciplines or hobbies. Sometimes I need to create 10 sketches in my sketchbook to create one I like. Sometimes I've had to write 15 drafts of the same poem before I felt like I was going someplace better with it. One time I came home with 500 photos of flowers I'd taken that day, only to really like 5 of them. That might sound harsh, but I would have been happy if I only liked 2. So liking 5 of them was heaven for me. But I wouldn't have gotten to those 5 if I hadn't taken the other 495 photos either. Now, that might just reveal what a shitty photographer I am, but this shitty photographer needed those 495 shitty photos to get those 5 I loved. And I would do that again if I could get 5 more I love. And I'm fine with it, because I know that quality comes from quantity. The only way to create something you love is to allow yourself to create things you don't. Which brings me to the next point, which is that ugly art allows you the space to experiment more. One of the biggest killers of creativity is perfectionism. When you put pressure on yourself to make something good every time, it keeps you in a confined space where your style and expression may stagnate instead of develop. Real growth, on the other hand, happens when you experiment, when you push your boundaries and step outside your comfort zone. When you embrace ugly art, you give yourself permission to try things you might not otherwise try. It might be a new color story, weird textures, or different compositions. It takes the pressure off, and suddenly art becomes play again. That's where real breakthroughs happen. The more you experiment, the more you discover new techniques, new ideas, and new ways of expressing yourself. And even better, that's what leads you to making better art in the long run. Part of that is because ugly art helps you build creative confidence. One of the scariest things for any artist is showing their work. It's the fear of judgment, the fear of rejection, the fear of not being good enough. But when you allow yourself to make ugly art, you start to detach from that fear. You realize that your value as an artist isn't tied to making something perfect. You start to enjoy the process instead of worrying about the outcome. You start to trust your instincts and skill more, and that confidence spills over into every piece you make. Confidence doesn't come from waiting until you're good enough or when you've created something great. It comes from making a lot of art, including the ugly stuff. And above all, ugly art reconnects you with the pure joy of creating. When you made art as a kid, did you worry about whether it was good? Probably not. You made things because it was fun, because it was exciting, because it made you feel something. But as we grow, we start judging ourselves. We get caught up in expectations, our own, other people's, social medias, and so on. That's when making art can start to feel stressful instead of freeing. That's when you start overthinking every brushstroke, every decision. But when you give yourself permission to make ugly art, you break free from the pressure. You remember what it feels like to create just for the sake of creating. You stop thinking, how do I make this good? And start asking, what if I just let go and see what happens? That's where the magic happens. That's when making art becomes joyful again. That's when you reconnect with the reason you started creating in the first place. Ugly art is not a failure. It's not a waste of time. It's the foundation of many, many creative breakthroughs. So the next time you feel stuck or you're afraid to make something that isn't perfect, just make ugly art. Let it be messy, let it be weird, let it be something you don't even like. Because that's how you grow, that's how you evolve, and that's how eventually you make something you'll absolutely love. If this video resonated with you, let me know in the comments, and if you want more videos from me, hit that subscribe button. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Happy creating!